In a previous lecture, we saw that we can start with the GPS of plant screen, hit select a plant, and then it will go, and forgive me, I have the debugger left on. Let me go ahead and play this through. When we click select a plant, it will render the next screen in the sequence, which is the advanced plant search screen. Okay, what we're going to do here is we're going to go from advanced plant search to a list of results. In other words, we're replicating what happens in the real Plant Places app, which I'll show you in just a moment as soon as I bring it up. I'll bring this off screen for just a moment. All of these changes, okay, and that's loading. I just committed all these changes up to GitHub. So if you look on GitHub, the revision called calling one activity from another, that's from that last video. Okay, the Plant Places flows that we're looking at, if we start from the main menu, which will be just 1 second as I toggle back to that. So we're doing a simplified version of this. We're starting with the GPS of plant screen. Now, by the way, you notice that Plant Places Mobile starts with the menu. That kind of violates an Android design guideline. They say you really shouldn't start with a splash screen or a menu. You should start with the screen that 80% of the users want to see at startup. Well, the reason why I did start with a menu screen was a little bit of marketing. The idea was to draw people in with the search by color, but then show them all the other things they could do with the app. The truth is I probably am doing too much with the app. I should probably take off change your preferences, probably take off actually these last three. Also, view your plant collection as redundant with a button already on GPS a plant, and view maps really doesn't work as well as I'd like it to. So probably I could simplify this a bit. But nonetheless, the flow that we're trying to replicate here is first clicking on GPS a plant. This is where our app is going to start. It's going to start with a GPS screen. You see we have latitude, longitude, and a description, and a few other buttons here. We haven't added these buttons to our app yet. When I hit select a plant, we're going to come to the all-purpose search screen, and this is where we're going to pick up in the current lecture. So what we're going to do is from our all-purpose search screen, I'm going to say red bud, and then I'm going to click on search. We can go ahead, we'll just say red bud, we'll just leave it like that. I'm going to click on search, and this is what we want to do next. From search, we want to see a list of plants that match that name. And I typed a capital E. I honestly don't remember. Okay, good. It's not case sensitive. So we want to come back with a list of plants like this. And then we want to be able to pick one, let's say Tennessee Pink, and have that jump all the way back to our GPS of plant screen. To do this, we need to learn a few extra things. We need to learn about something called a bundle. And a bundle is what allows us to pass data from one screen to another. We also need to figure out start activity for result, which means we're expecting a result from an activity. And we need to learn about on activity result and a method called finish. So we might not cover that all in this video, but those are the goals. That's what we want to learn about, and that's what we're going to focus on this week or in this video on our Plant Places app. So to start with, I'm going to go back to Java View here. And we know that when we made the advanced search activity, we had to create a layout and associate it with the activity by overriding, or in other words, creating this special method called onCreate. And then we have to associate the layout with the activity by using setContentView. Okay, we want to make that search results screen that shows a list of plants. Okay, I want to make that result screen that shows a list of plants. And it just so happens that making a list is actually a fairly common thing to do, a fairly straightforward thing to do. And so there's kind of a shortcut we can take. If we want to show a list of results, then we can cut out the part of making a layout and associating that layout with an activity if we do something special, and I'll show you what that is right now. I'm going to right click and choose new, and then I'm going to choose class, and I know a little of that is off screen, but right click on our package, choose new, and then choose class. Okay. When this class comes up, we're going to call this plant results activity. And here's the important part. On superclass, choose browse. Last time we typed in activity. Okay, let's not do that this time. This time type list activity, okay, and choose finish. And what you get is you get an activity that wants to show a list. Okay, so you don't have to make a new layout. The layout is predefined. You get an activity that wants to show a list. Okay, we can still do our trick with onCreate. So we know that this method called onCreate is going to get invoked as soon as this activity begins. So let's let Eclipse do the work for us. Let's make life easy on ourselves. Type onC, hold Control and hit space, and Eclipse will say, let's type onCR. Eclipse will say, oh, you want to make an onCreate method, don't you? And the answer is, well, yes, I do. So with that onCreate method selected, I choose Enter, boom, and it gives me this onCreate method. Okay, now at this point what I can do is I can show a list of stuff. But let's just make sure we can navigate from the advanced search screen to this screen. Okay, this is a bit of review, but probably an important review. If I go to the advanced search activity, there's not much in it just yet. If I go to the advanced search layout, we'll see that we have a label, an autocomplete text, and a button. Okay, so on this button, if I want this to invoke a method, I'm going to right click on the button, and then I am going to say other properties, and I'm going to say all by name, and this will take a little bit of scrolling, but I eventually want to get to the property called onClick. Okay, I'm going to scroll down and down and down, and we keep going. And this is actually something that's a lot easier to do if you're in the XML view, but if not, you can just as easily click the onClick like so. Now, give this a name. Let's say search for plants. Give that a name, whatever name you give it. Hold Shift and press Home to highlight it, or whatever you need to do to highlight it. Then let your finger off Shift. Hold Control and press C to copy, and choose OK. Okay, so we've just given it an onClick value. Now we're going to go back to our advanced search activity, and now what we need to do is make a method that looks like this. We're going to say public void, and now Control V to paste. Okay, that same name we just saw. Open paren, view with a capital V, and then just the letter V is just fine. Open curly, close curly, and I'll put some Javadoc here. This method will be called when search plants is selected. Okay, there we go. So that's our magic trick to make a method that will be called when a button is pushed. We're getting a red squiggly on view, and that's because it doesn't know what view is. Easy way to fix that is Control-Shift-O, and that takes care of the red squiggly. Remember one big rule of programming: if you get a red squiggly, the first thing that you want to do is stop and fix it. And in this case, it's an easy fix, just a simple Control-Shift-O, and then Control-S to save, and we're all set. Now, we are currently in the plant search screen, and we need this to render the plant results screen. So we do it just like we did with our GPS of plant activity, where we make one of these intents, an explicit intent. So let's remember how to do that. We say intent with a capital I, then we can give it any name we want. We want to give it a relative and descriptive name, so let's say plant results intent equals new intent, just like that, equal sign, the word new lowercase, a space, the word intent again with a capital I, open paren, this comma, and then the name of the class I want to go to, which in this case is plant results activity. But instead of .java, we need .class. So this comma, plant results activity .class. Don't forget to terminate the line with a semicolon. Okay, now we have a red squiggly, which means it doesn't know what intent is, but again, that's an easy fix. Control-Shift-O will fix it, and we're good. Now we're going to say start activity, and we're going to add more to this as our project goes, but for now this will work. Start activity, plant results, intent. and terminate that line with the semicolon, as we always want to do, and save. Now, it's really easy to say we're done because it's easy to forget the next step. The next step is we need to add this activity to our Android manifest. So let's go ahead and comment what we have here, and then we'll add that to our manifest. We'll debug, and we'll see the results. So create an explicit intent, okay? Invoke the explicit intent. Okay, save. And now I'm going to go back. I'm going to look for Android manifest. And again, we've done this before, but this is worth repeating, and we have to repeat it anyway. Okay, I'm going to choose add, and it comes up with intent filter and metadata, which is not what I want. No, I'm sorry, I didn't say where I was. I'm on the application tab within Android manifest. Oh, and let me save. I see this guy hasn't saved, so let me go ahead and save everything. Okay. Again, go back to Android manifest. Okay, make sure we're on the application tab, choose add. Now you don't see activity here because this lower button is selected. Click on the upper button, choose activity. We want to make sure we add an activity. Choose OK. Now it gets a little bit hard to see because where we need to put the activity name is way down here, and it's not very obvious. So in this case, many times it's a good idea to click in this screen and then press Control M, which will maximize this screen in Eclipse so we can see the whole thing. Okay, activity selected. I'm going to scroll up to the top, and again, I know this isn't very user-friendly, but hey, we'll deal with the deck of cards we were given. So, name, I choose browse, and here I'm going to say that plant results activity, that's the class we just made, and then I'm going to choose save. Okay, so we just need to register this activity to make it callable. Control M takes us back to windowed mode again, where we can see our entire application. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to right-click, debug as, and then I'm going to say Android application. That might take a few moments to load on my emulator. I'll go ahead and say, okay, yeah, that's the emulator I want. So what I'm going to do while that's loading, first of all, make sure we're still recording. Okay, I'm going to right-click. I'm going to say team and commit. And I'm going to push this out to Git so you can see the changes that I made just now. Okay, create a new plant results activity which extends list activity. This will show a list of plant results. Wire up the plant search. Let's make a space there. Plant search button to invoke this screen. Okay, register the plant results activity in the Android manifest. Okay, that should cover things pretty well. Click on the things I've added, and I think we're in good shape. I'm going to commit. And then after that, I'm going to push it out to GitHub. And this is freely available for everybody to share. Let's see, remote and push. And by the way, I'm keeping an eye on the emulator on my right screen. It has not come up yet, so I might need to kind of coax it a little bit. So I'll tell you what. I'm going to, let's see, 1 second. I just need to grab. Okay. Grab the GitHub URL, copy that, and paste. Put in my username and my super secret password, Snoopy14. Choose Add All Branches. Next. Choose Finish, and we'll go ahead and let that whirl. While that's going, I notice that the emulator still hasn't come up. It appears to be having some trouble. We'll send that to run in background. Okay, that looks good. That ran. Okay, so why didn't it come up? Let's look at console. I don't see any messages. Let me try and deploy it just one more time. Sometimes you just have to give it a bit of a nudge. And OK. Now, with any luck, it will come up. I will get some messages down here. I'm going to go ahead and pause because this will take a few minutes. At worst, I might have to coax it a little bit more. Oh, no, well, you know what? Maybe I spoke too soon, because here we go. The debugger's up and running. I do have some breakpoints set, so I know that when I click around, I'm going to have to jump back to the editor. For example, when I click on Select a Plant, it's going to take me here into Debug on the GPS screen, okay, on the GPS plant screen. So I will go ahead and choose, I'll go ahead and choose OK. And just a moment as it synchronizes. There we go. Okay, we'll choose play here. Okay, and that will render in just a moment. That will go from my GPS plant screen. Okay, we're going to go ahead and play through this. I can go ahead and take these breakpoints off, to be honest with you. I don't think I'll be needing them for a little while. So I'll say toggle breakpoint and take it off. Okay, that takes me to my plant search screen. Now, this is the button I've just wired up. If I hit this, I should go to another screen. Now, there won't be much on that screen just yet, but we can at least make sure the navigation works. I choose search, and let's watch. And there we go. Okay, again, nothing on the screen yet, but we at least know the navigation works. So the next thing we want to do then is we want to put some results on that screen. Now, the next thing we want to do is show a list of plants on that screen, on that result screen. This is tricky to say the least. There are several steps that we have to do. We have to create a collection, like an array, and we have to create an array adapter, and then we have to call something called SetListAdapter. So there's several things we have to do. It gets a little bit tricky. Let's start by making a class called plant. And to make a class called plant, I'm going to make a brand new package under source. I'm going to right click and say new, and then I'm going to say package, and we're going to call this com.plantplaces.dto, and then I choose finish. Underneath this, then, I'm going to right click and say new, and we're just going to make a normal old class, and we're going to call this class plant, and finish. You might remember that for classes, we said a class is a noun. A class has attributes like adjectives, they describe that class, and a class has methods, which are like verbs. So for my class called plant, what I can do is say private string, should be lowercase t, string, uppercase s, everything else lowercase, genus, private string species, private string cultivar, terminate each of these lines with a semicolon, private string common, okay, private int id, identifier, private int GUID, global unique identifier. That's enough to get us started. I'm going to save. I'm going to right click on this, choose refactor, and then we'll choose, I don't really have any good options there. Let me see. Let me highlight it. Right click. Okay, refactor. Let's say source actually. Generate. Oh, no, not that. Sorry. Right click and source. I think I've made it mad. So we'll try that again. Okay, right click and source. And we're going to say generate getters and setters. Go ahead, select all, and choose OK. Okay. Now there's a magic method called toString. It's one of these methods that Eclipse knows about. So at the very bottom, I'm going to type TO and the letter S and hold Control Space and hit Enter for toString. What this will do is return a string representation of an object to us. So for our plant, I'm going to say genus plus then blank space plus species plus and then a blank space and then plus common. So return a string representation of our plant. Okay, and save. Okay, so typical class. Class is a noun. A class has attributes or adjectives that describe it, and then it has methods that do things. In this case, this method is returning a string representation of our plant. Okay, so given that, we go back to plant results activity, and I can now create a new object from class plant. Okay, let me Control M so we can focus on this. Okay, and we'll say plant redbud equals new plant. So you see what I'm doing now? I'm creating a new object of type plant. Okay, redbud dot set common. We're going to say redbud. Okay, we're going to give it a common name of redbud. Redbud sets genus Cercis. Redbud set species Canadensis, like so. Okay, now I'm getting a red line on that class called plant. Looks like that was taken care of. Okay, let's make another plant. Okay, create a pawpaw. That's a kind of tree. Plant pawpaw equals new plant. Okay, so here's a second object we're making. Pawpaw set common is pawpaw. Okay. Pawpaw set genus is Asimina. Okay. Pawpaw set species Triloba. Okay, so now we have two plants that we want to display. Now we have two plants that we want to display on our results. Okay, so what I need to do is make a collection. We'll say array list, and then I need to tell this array list that it's going to hold plants. Okay, and I need to give the array list or the collection a name. All plants. Now I need to construct an array list equals new array list that's going to hold plant, open and close paren to construct that array list, Control-Shift-O to import that array list. This is where I say the syntax gets a little bit goofy. We're creating a new array list, which is a collection, and it's going to hold plants. We're declaring that it will hold plants in a variable called allPlant, and we're creating a new array list called plant, that holds plants, and then the two parentheses indicate that we're creating a new object of type array list. Wow, that is a lot of stuff to think about here. This is just kind of boilerplate. If you're doing something like this yourself, the only part you need to change is whatever the object type is that the array list is going to hold, and then give it a name that you choose. Everything else in this line stays the same. Okay, now what we're going to do, let's see, create a collection to hold the plants. Now what we're going to do is we are going to say add the redbud and the pawpaw to this collection. Okay, collection. We'll say all plants.add redbud. Okay, all plants.add pawpaw. Okay, there we go. Now what we need to do is show this collection in our list. This gets even more tricky. So we have to make an adapter, and the purpose of an adapter is to take a collection and show it basically in a list. So what we're going to do is we're going to say array adapter plant equals new array adapter plant, and then we have to pass in let's see, this comma android.r.layout.simple list item 1 comma all plants. And let me move this so we can see the whole thing on our screen. No way around it. This is goofy syntax, especially for an introductory class like ours. Oh, and I missed one. array adapter plant, we'll call it plant adapter. I missed that part. Let me do my best to explain this, but let me also tell you, don't worry about learning every single word. So an array list is something that is a collection of objects. An array adapter takes a collection of objects and makes it ready for the user interface to display it. In other words, makes it ready for it to be displayed on our screen. So I'm declaring an array adapter, giving it the variable name plant adapter, and then I'm constructing a new array adapter here. Okay, and I'm saying this array adapter will hold plants, and I have to pass a reference to the current screen. I have to give this a constant to tell it how to display the plants, and then I have to give it the collection of plants, and then I terminate with a semicolon. A lot of really crazy looking syntax here. If you need to do this for your own app, pretty much most of this will stay the same. Just put the object, or I'm sorry, the class type that you want to display here, come up with your own name, the object or the class type you want to display here, and then the collection of objects you want to display here. Everything else stays pretty much the same. So I said, don't get too caught up in that syntax. And remember, I'll post this on GitHub. You're more than welcome to take a look at it on GitHub. Share and reapply from there as you wish. Okay, so now one more thing I have to do. I have to call a method named SetListAdapter. But guess what? This is one of those magic methods. So if I just type setl, hold control and hit space, it will fill in the blank for me and even recommend, is it plant adapter that I want to show? So I go ahead and say it is actually. So I'm going to save, and then I'm going to control M, and believe it or not, with all that goofy syntax, we're finally all set. So I'm going to right click, choose debug as, Android application, and I'll pause the screen as it might take a moment for this to actually load. And then we're going to see, we're just going to run through and see if this does what we want it to do. And the screen appears. I'm going to go ahead and choose select a plant. I know I still have a debug point set here, so I'm going to go ahead and tell it to play through. Okay, as a matter of fact, this one I know we've seen several times before, so I am going to turn this one off. I'm just going to say toggle breakpoint. We're not interested in stopping here anymore. So I right click, I choose toggle breakpoint. Okay, and now play. And now we should be able to watch it continue to play through. It's going to go to the search plant screen. Of course, we know we have this all dummied up right now, but it will go to our search plant screen. Now I'm going to hit search, and with any luck, we will get to the results screen. And trust me, it wouldn't surprise me if I made a mistake somewhere. It's easy to make. But if we're lucky, there we go. Cercis canadensis redbud, a Semina triloba pawpaw. Now, how did it display like that? Well, let me set a couple more breakpoints, and we'll review what we've done. Okay, we're going to review what we've done. So I go to, I'm going to go to plant results activity. Okay, there we go. And I'm going to set a breakpoint on this onCreate method. We're going to walk through it one step at a time. Okay, with any luck. There we go, we got it. Okay. I'm also going to go to the class called plant. Okay. And I'm going to set a breakpoint on the toString method. A little bit slow, but we'll see if it catches up. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to control M. And I am going to, well, actually, that's right. I don't even have to tell it. I don't even have to restart. Let me go back a couple screens. Okay. And I'm going to choose select a plant. Okay, I've hopefully removed the breakpoints from here, so this should take us right to the search screen. Okay, here's our search screen. I'm going to choose search. Okay, and here we go. Now let's walk one step at a time and see what we're doing. First of all, that super call, we want to leave the super call there. Okay, next. I haven't really explained this part, but when you see this word new and then you see a class with an open and closed parentheses, What that means is we're creating a new object of the class. If you remember the video we had on classes and objects, we're creating a new object of a class here. Plant red bud equals new plant. Okay. Now what we're doing is we're setting values to these attributes. Again, if you remember the video when I was in the parking garage, we talked about a gray Toyota Corolla and a black Toyota Corolla. So what we're doing is here we're creating an object. We're assigning a parking space to our plant. Here we're assigning values to those attributes. So just like the video, creating an object and then assigning values to those attributes. Okay, we go ahead, we F6 through with any luck. And now we're going to do the same thing with the pawpaw. We're going to create an object and set value to its attributes. Okay? Next, we're creating an object of type ArrayList. An ArrayList is a special kind of class that can hold a collection of classes. So we add our red bud and our pawpaw object to this class. Now here's the really tricky one. An array adapter takes an array, which is a collection of objects, and makes it ready to be displayed on the user interface. So we know we're telling it we're holding plants. We have to pass a reference called this, which is a little bit goofy, but that means a reference of our current object. Don't worry about that. Just type the word this. We have to tell it how we want to display it, basically one line per item, and then what we're going to display there, and we're displaying the collection of plants. Next, SetListAdapter. That's going to put this array list into the array adapter into our screen. Now what's going to happen next is very interesting. I'm going to hit play. What's going to happen is we're going to pass our pawpaw and our red bud to this list. And the list is going to say, holy smokes, how do I display these objects? What it's going to do is it's going to call the toString method on those objects, because the toString method is a magic method that tells an object how to display itself as a string. So as soon as I hit play, the next breakpoint to hit is going to be that toString. I choose play, and let's take a look. Okay, and take a look where we are. We're in the toString method where this object is going to tell itself how to be displayed. I'm going to hit play and it will hit one more time. Once for the red bud, once for the pawpaw. Okay, play again and look at what we have. We have our red bud and our pawpaw. So in this lecture we took a look at how to make a collection that shows multiple items. Okay, and that is extending a list activity. We also looked at what an array list is. We looked at what an array adapter is. And also we know that when an object wants to be displayed as a string, it will invoke the toString method. So we looked at the array adapter, which kind of has some ugly syntax, but is necessary for taking an array and making it presentable within a user interface. Now this is kind of goofy because right now those two plants show up regardless of what we put on the search screen. And once we click those plants, and it's going to actually hit the debugger again, I'll disconnect that. Once it displays those plants and we click, nothing happens. So we know we have a couple things we need to do. First of all, we need to have something happen when we click on these plants. Secondly, we need to have it so that we can actually fill in some data here in the search screen and have the results be dependent on whatever data we've entered. But at this point, we're beyond the 30-minute mark, so we'll save that for a future lecture. We're going to keep this lecture focused on list activity. Thank you for listening.